Hi, this is Maria Morales. I am a facilitator for immigration processes in Huatulco, Oaxaca, Mexico. And today we have two very important guests. They're going to talk about their process for naturalization and well, for Mexican citizenship. Welcome, Bill and Doris. How are you
Muchas
doing
gracias.
today?
Thank you.
So first of all, congratulations for completing this process, the naturalization process.
Yeah, thank you very much.
How you feel about that?
Oh, I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because for me, I had a permanent residency for a long time. And Huatulco, well, Mexico, but Huatulco is mi hogar, it's my home. And I knew that I would die here in Mexico. For me, I knew that, but for Doris and her family, they weren't sure because so many Canadians and Americans come here, and then when things get a little hard, they go back. They always say, "Where's home?" And they say, "Oh, in Canada, in the United States. Mi hogar is in Canada." No, for me, it's the reverse. But I knew that I would be here, but it was very important for her and her family. So I'm really happy. I know that a lot of the people I know here, Mexicans, wow. I mean, I don't know how everybody found out, but they're really happy that I went ahead and did this. The people that I don't know that well come up and say, wow, congratulations, felicidades mi paisano. So it's a big deal. I didn't realize that there aren't that many foreigners here who actually go past permanent residency and get naturalized here. So I'm really happy now.
Yeah,
Really
it's
happy.
it's very special. Like it's something very special because not many people can achieve this process. Like
Right.
most people get the residency and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but to get the citizenship involves more work. Like
Yes.
it's a process that is more personal. It's not, I mean, obviously you got help in this case, but it's not that I went for you with the appointments, like you went yourself
Well,
to the
yeah, no,
appointments and all
exactly.
that.
But
And
without your help for organizing that, for people that are watching this, when you live in Huatulco, you'll hear this all the time. No, it isn't here, it isn't here. So, it's like to go to SRE, you need to go to Mexico City to get to be checked by the police before I did this. I had to go to Oaxaca. So, what really helped was having you organize all of the paperwork. And then, yes, I did go to these places by myself, but at least I had all of the paperwork in order. And anybody that's watching this will already know. In Mexico, wow, paperwork is really important. You can have one little mistake and it's like, sorry, and off you go back to Huatulco. So if you lived in Puebla or Mexico City, it wouldn't be horrible. But here, yeah, you're traveling a lot. So it was, in English, it was seamless, the whole process. Obviously, I had to do everything by myself, but I didn't have any trouble at all because you had organized it absolutely perfectly. So my advice is get somebody to help you. The services here are really good, really good.
thank you so much. So let's talk about a little bit your residency process first.
Okay.
Like what, how you got it, like when, and
Yeah.
how that happened.
Well, I I went straight to permanent. They had changed the rules somewhat, and I went straight to permanent residency. And it was a new process at the time, and so I did it on my own. That meant I had to go to. I ended up at an embassy or consulate in Omaha, Nebraska, for crying out loud, because I was driving down here, and they helped me get it all done. But it was complicated because it was sort of the first time they'd done it, and nobody was really, they weren't really sure how to get it done. So what happened was, on the FMM, when you get your permanent, you're supposed to have it filled out for 30 days. And then you have 30 days when you get to where you're living to go to immigration to get it all approved. Well, they made a mistake at the border because they didn't know and I didn't know, and they gave me my FMM, my temporary my temporary permission to be in Mexico, said 180 days. So when I went to immigration, they were like, "We can't help you." So they had to write a 2-page letter that I had to take with me down to Tapachula to go into Guatemala and come back and show them there to get me to get a new FMM so I could just come to immigration and get everything done. Wow, it was incredible because when I got, I had this letter, but when I got to immigration coming back from Guatemala into Mexico, the Mexican people said, they said, "That's not right. That's not right. No. You don't need that." And I said, "Just give me the FMF, please." And, it's really complicated.
What year was that?
Oh man,
So,
it would be más o menos, I think, about maybe 8 years ago or something like that. But it was right. It was the first year that you could go directly to a permanent visa. So it was a brand new process. So nobody knew that much about it.
Okay, so then back then you weren't married to Doris yet.
No, I was married to Linda Holland, and I helped her the next year when we drove down. We stopped in San Antonio, and then I knew quite a bit about the process. And we stayed in a hotel very near the Mexican consulate. And I went with her to help her get her permanent visa because her paperwork was good. And when I saw the guy, it was quite entertaining because I was talking to him in Spanish, and he spoke English, but he was much more comfortable, obviously, talking in Spanish, and he was glad that I was talking in Spanish. So it was really funny because about 20 minutes into the interview, he said, "Well, why does your wife want to be with a permanent visa in Mexico?" I said, "Well, because we want to live there. It's our home. It's our hogar." And after 20 minutes, he said, "Now I think I'm starting to believe you." I mean, it was so funny because it was okay. Then he said, "Yes, okay." But then I knew to get the FFM for 30 days. So with her, it was just, we came here, had an FMM for 30 days. Everything was in order. We went straight to immigration, and it was really easy. But the first time, wow, 2 days to Tapachula and back.
Okay, so you got the permanent residency with your financial solvency.
Yeah, with my financial solvency.
Okay, and then after that, I guess you divorced.
Right.
And then you got married with Doris.
My wife still comes here 6 months a year or more, and she is my ex-wife. She has her permanent residency. She probably won't change that.
So you are mentioning that when you went to the consulate in San Antonio, it was easier the process.
Second time, yes.
Yeah, because also you were speaking Spanish.
That helped a lot
to the person. Yeah. So how long have you been learning Spanish or knowing Spanish?
Since I came to Mexico, but I was only here with my ex-wife. We were here about 10 years. And only 6 months a year because I have a home on a little lake, a flyout lake in Canada, so we go back and forth. But because I really loved that place and still really like it, but that was my life then, and this is my life now. So I don't know, casi ahorita todo el tiempo en español con mi esposa. So yeah, I think.
But you have been knowing Spanish for how many years?
Well, you understand it. At first you think you know a bit, and then a little more, and a little more, and a little more, and a little more. And now I'm pretty comfortable with Spanish, and I know that it really helped when I went to Omaha for my permanent residency. I didn't start learning Spanish until I was like 60 years old. So it's not easy. It's like your brain isn't like a young child. It's just like esponja. They're like a sponge. They just absorb it. With you understand because your English is good enough now that you understand little things that you're learning all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But little kids, they just speak it. Yeah, it's different. So, but for me, it's a sign of respect. That's how I feel about it.
Thank you so much.
With this process to get your passport and your INE, you can't do it without Spanish. When people go from here to Canada to the United States, I think from what I've heard from people that have done that, it's it's much harder of a process, and you have to be very fluent in English, and you also have to know a lot about Canadian history or American history. I talked to my friend who got his wife, a Spanish woman, Mexican woman, to get it done, and he said, "Wow, it was far more complicated for her to go and become a United States citizen than it was for me to become a Mexican citizen." So when people complain to me about how complicated everything is in Mexico about getting a permanent visa, and why don't they make it easier? Well, because you're coming to, this is a different country.
Okay, so let's start talking about the naturalization process. So when did you start to talk or to think about doing that process? When did you decide to become Mexican?
I think I thought about it for ever since I married Doris. I thought about it. I should do it. I should do it. I should do it. But then if you have a permanent visa, you don't need to do it. So I just kept thinking about it, and I think about but the problem was that I decided to do it right when COVID hit. So that just shut down SRE for 2 years. So it was like I was ready to do it, but then that hit, and then after 2 years, after COVID quit, then that's when I was in the process of starting to talk to people about it in Puebla and different places. But after COVID, that's when I came to speak to you. So if you live in Canada and you're coming back and forth to Mexico, it would be quite a bit simpler to get your long form birth certificate. But because I haven't gone back to Canada for 9 years, I would have had to make a special trip to get the long form birth certificate. So it was more complicated for me. But for somebody that's going back and forth and they want to follow this process to get their citizenship, wow, my best advice is right off the start, get a facilitator like Maria. No, really, because you're current with all the rules. You know what the rules are, and that's just one thing you need to get from there. But if somebody comes here and they come into you and they say, "Okay, I want to do that, and here's my birth certificate," like I did, then you say, "No, you need your long form birth certificate." So if they had talked to you ahead of time, they would know that.
So you ordered the birth certificate like from here. It was like
Right.
an online process. Like Canada allows to do that process online, right? Like a courier.
It was complicated. I can't remember the words. Remember that it used to be you had a postille.
Yeah,
But then they changed that. But
it was a legalization. Like
Right,
when Bill
right.
started his process,
Right.
Canada wasn't using apostille yet.
Right.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
were
you
like
had
in
to
that
get it
process to
and then get it certified by the embassy. And so, yes, it was complicated. But now, if anybody's interested in doing this, it's simpler now, and Maria can explain it to you.
Yeah, so what you mentioned about the birth certificate, it's important because sometimes people get their birth certificates from Canada, from the United States, and sometimes even if they have the correct format, they don't have the apostille or the legalization,
Right.
and then basically you have to send it again,
Yeah, do it all over.
or do another trip to Canada, to the
Right.
United States, or whatever your home country is, just to get that certification and then come back and then start the process. So I think that was the advantage we had with you since the beginning. It's that advise you like exactly, okay, what form you need, but also you need to get the apostille done while you get the form done. So when you get it, you get the actual document you will need. Also, we facilitated the translations,
Right.
because also it's needed to do the translations for the document. And after that, well, we use that for getting the background checks in the
Yeah.
state, in Oaxaca City. And we use it also for the federal, like the nationwide background check. So if you don't have that document, basically you cannot start the process.
Right.
Right. So after that, well, we make that after we got all the documents, then we made the appointment. And about 1 year ago, you went to your
Yeah.
first appointment.
Well, the
in
first
Mexico
appointment was
City.
in Oaxaca with the police, the state police.
Yeah.
But then once I had that, then that was the next document I needed with all your other documents to make the first appointment with Mexico City with SRE. So then I went there for the test, which is where you need to know Spanish. And to get past that,
So let's slow down a little bit and go step by step. Like, for example, when you arrive in the building, they ask you for the appointment. Like,
Right.
you show you have an appointment, they let you in.
Right.
They let both of you in. Like, Doris was with you, or was you by yourself?
All the time go.
Yeah, both. One time they weren't. They didn't want to let her in, but then she just kept and they let her in. Just, but yes, it's.
Okay, so
but you're on your own for the test. I mean,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, so then when you enter the building, then it's like a waiting room.
Yes.
And what happens there?
There's about 30 people in there, and they're not all doing the same thing you're doing. Some of them are doing different things with SRE, but you just, my appointment was at say in 10 in the morning. It's Mexican time, al ratito, but
You waited a while.
yeah, I waited.
Okay.
Yeah, probably half an hour to 45 minutes, and then they call your name. You go up, and there's a bit of process there. You go back and forth a couple of times from your chair to them.
But you have to arrive on time.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you just wait after that, like until they are ready to see
Yeah.
you, and they first ask you the documents. They review.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember a lot of it, but I know they wanted all of the documentation that you had put together that helped me get started. So they wanted all that, and then you fill in a kind of an application for what you're doing, and then they take all that documentation along with your. In my case, they took my permanent visa, and then you sit down again, and they go through it all to make sure that everything they need is there. And that's where, God, get a facilitator, whoever's listening to this. Because if you just are missing one document or something's wrong with your document, they're just going to come back and say, geez, I'm sorry. And then you have to go all the way back to Atuco, and you basically start all over again. So get a facilitator to help you, no matter what it is, whether it's your temporary visa, your permanent visa, or in this case, your naturalization. Just because if you lived in Mexico City, it'd be a lot easier. But when you have to come all the way from Mexico City back to Atuco, then back to Mexico City, it's really nice to have all the paperwork ready. Once they tell you, yes, it's all good, then you go through, there's a process where they test your fluency in Spanish, and they do a quick video of why, señor, ¿por qué tú quieres vivir en Mexico? And you have to tell them a quick video like this in Spanish why you want to live in Mexico, and then it's whatever your reason is.
For what?
You've got to explain it in Spanish.
For what?
What? Oh, why? Wow, porque mi esposa es aquí, mi vida es aquí, Mexico es mi hogar. It's not my house, it's my home. Like, yo voy a morir en Mexico. But you need to be able to do that kind of stuff in Spanish and not.
And the Spanish test is like they ask you questions and you reply, or it's written.
No, it surprised me a bit. What it is it's 3 pretty complicated paragraphs, not normal dialogue like I was in the bar today and I saw my friend Joe and things like that. It's kind of historical context in a paragraph. And it's like, wow, that's really complicated. And then there's a series of questions underneath, and it's like, they're sort of, what do you call it? Yes and no, not yes and no. Pick the right answer. And you have to understand the thing that, the paragraph to answer the questions. And there's three like that. I forget how long they give you. I don't, no recuerdo cuánto tiempo. Like 10 minutes,
20
15.
minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
So you
Okay.
have to be able to answer that stuff or you just don't pass.
So you have a limit of time, and they give you just a paragraph for reading comprehension. You have to answer.
But it was like really weird historical context, like things like, in the history of Mexico when the Mixtecas were here, and then Cortez showed up in Veracruz, and it was like, wow, like there's no way you could prepare for that. You couldn't prepare for it ahead of time.
Well, maybe by reading about Mexican culture,
but you would still
a little bit.
Like the questions are all different. Like everybody gets a different set of questions. So if I go in there today and get these questions, and somebody says, "What were your questions?" I don't know what yours are going to be. They're going to be completely different.
And you didn't really prepare for the exam, right? Like for the test, like.
Well, I thought, like I said, I thought just being, fairly fluent in Spanish, it would be just really simple, and it wasn't simple. It proved to them and also to me that I had comprehension of Spanish enough to, the paragraph in question had past tense, future tense, history, different, things about Cortez, or just different themes like that. So you had to be able to read it and then see the questions and then maybe go back and think it through.
Yeah, because this wasn't the culture and history test, because you didn't take that test, right?
No,
like they
no,
skipped that for you.
Right.
So they never did a test on speaking test, like Spanish speaking, nothing. It was just that one.
Just that comprehension. So.
And so did you see some people, for example, in the waiting room struggling with the paperwork, not really, like they had something missing or maybe not organized?
I didn't see anything like that, but I'm sure it happens because remember we talked to that lady and that worked there, and she said, "Wow, lots of people come here and we feel really bad, but it's like, wow, you came all the way from Puebla or somewhere." And I'm like, "I came all the way from Huatulco." and she says, "And we have to send them home because they're missing something. They've got everything, but they're missing one document." And I'm sorry, that's just it. And they feel real bad for them, but
yeah, it's the process. It's what they have to do. It's their job.
And I think they told me they see out of all the people who are in there every day. I can't remember how long they're open, but it's like maybe from 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and they see something like between 15 and 20 people that are doing parts of the process that I was doing.
So once you did the test, they tell you right away that you passed.
Yeah, and then you just have to wait.
Okay, and more wait.
Yeah, more.
Okay.
And that's interesting because that was just about a year.
When they say you passed and you waited there, then they said, okay, your paperwork is in, and you just have to wait until we contact you.
Right.
In my side of things, I got an email where they said, yes, it's approved. Like by writing, they send something in the email that says it's approved. And then they say we just have to wait. And it was, the first step was they check with the INM office. Like what they do is they send all your paperwork to the INM and the immigration office, and they just check that everything matches. Like the address you gave them is the address the immigration office has, that all the information the immigration has is the same, you give it to them.
Right.
And after that, then they say yes, it's approved by the INM, and that's all the feedback we got.
Yeah.
For 6 to 8 months, we didn't get anything else from them. I was checking the email, the system. They have a tracking system, but it really doesn't give you much information. And yeah, after that, like actually, I emailed them like a couple weeks before they emailed us back. It was like I just emailed them like, "Hey, we did the naturalization process in this day. We haven't heard in 8 months.
Yeah, what? Yeah, when?
So what's going to happen?" And then they did a couple days after that. They replied to me saying, "Well, you have an appointment on this date and this time," and I was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance. Like it wasn't that much. And obviously it's an assigned appointment. It's not like they ask you like, "Hey, can you come to Mexico City on this day?" It's like you have to be here at this day and this time.
Certain time, certain day. It's a fix. It's your appointment. Your tu cita is.
That's what it is, and you have to make it work.
Yeah.
And then they ask you just to bring your original residency card.
Yeah, and that's it. That's gone. They cut it up, take it away.
And so in that second appointment, what happened? Like they did like a kind of ceremony, or they just give you the document, or what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. No, there's no. I thought maybe it'd be a little more formal than that, but it isn't. It's in the same room, in the same place. You do the test. There's lots of other people, maybe the same day that's happening, that are doing the test that you've already done. But myself and several other people, including the lady from Colombia, we were there to get the actual ACTA. So you just sit there and you wait, and then they call you and you go up and you talk to them, and they congratulate you, but it's not. Felicidades, tú eres mi paisano ahorita. They're happy for you. And there's like I was joking around a lot with them in Mexican slang, and they were just happy to do it. They shake your hand. 2 or 3 of the staff are there, but meanwhile the other old process is still proceeding. Like all the other people are taking tests and getting their pictures taken and doing their little video or other reasons that they're there. It's pretty simple, but you've got to go all the way there to do it. So if you lived in Mexico City, it wouldn't be a big deal. But when you're coming from here, it's a bigger deal. Yeah. And even when that's finished, just so everybody knows, now I've got the ACTA, but I still need to go, because this is Huatulco. There's very little here. I have to go to Puerto Escondido or Salina Cruz to get my INE, which is my voting card. And then I also have to go to Oaxaca to get my passport when I decide to get the passport. So it's not finished when you get that act. Like now you're a citizen, but if I wanted to vote, I can't go with my ACTA. I need the INE, so I'm going to have to go get that.
So also now in this citizenship process, you had before as a resident a CURP number,
right?
And then now you have a different CURP number for Mexicans, because for you to know, the CURP number is like the Social Security number in Mexico, and yeah, it's different for Mexicans than for residents. So now you have a new CURP. So obviously you have some processes ahead, like for example, you have to notify the immigration office that you are Mexican now, so you don't have to keep going with them to them. When you are a resident, you have to go and notify when you change your address or when you get married. And now we are a Mexican, you don't have to do that. So you just have to notify the change of citizenship.
Right.
And then they will say, okay, you are no longer have anything to do with us. So, okay, let's show your.
And this is what I'm really proud of. I showed it to some friends this morning having coffee, and they're like, "Oh, felicidades." This is my ACTA.
Sí, ACTA de
naturalización.
Naturalización. Okay.
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 And I remember
It's
just
exciting.
information for you that you said when I got this, I should get 3 or 4 other copies. And they said, yes, you can do that here with SRE. You have to, it was a bit of a process. So I came back here.
Okay, so when you did the process, you didn't get the certified copies there. You didn't get them.
No, because they said that was yet, then I would have had to make another application for an
For the
appointment
appointment for to get the
to
certified
come
copies.
back and see them. And I thought, oh man, okay, I'll wait until I go back to Huatulco, and then I'll think about when I have to go back to Mexico City another time, and I'll do it then. But then we talked to Enrique and his dad, and they said, no, we can do that right here.
Okay,
So that
that's
just
good.
yeah, it's good for me. It was good to know.
Yeah, and it's good
For
to know
anyone else,
for
it's good to know.
everyone. Yeah, because it's important to have the certified copies because you are going to do so many paperwork after
Right.
this.
Right.
And probably when you go to the immigration office, well, probably they could take a simple copy, but who knows? And then when you do the RFC, maybe they want to get an original certified copy. When you go to the INE, you go for the passport, like they will need copies and copies of this.
For anybody that's interested in this, you already know that when there are so many places you go, like the bank or wherever, and they'll say, "We need a copy of your passport." And I got so used to that I just made 10 copies of my passport and kept it in my wallet all the time. Because you're constantly giving people copies. You're not worried about that? No, because everybody has a copy of my passport.
Yeah, and that's something some people think that when they get the residency card, it's just a residency card now, but now you always have to carry both IDs, the passport and the residency card. But in your case, when you get the INE or the Mexican passport, that's just one ID, just one of those. And it will be
it'll make things at the bank easier. It just makes everything easier if you've got an INE. So
also we are in a restricted zone for owning property. But just for people to know, like, why to go through this process or what benefits you could get from this process is just, basically the major benefit that I will say is that you can own property anywhere in Mexico.
No fideicomiso.
You don't
no
have
more fideicomiso.
Exactly. You don't have to have a bank trust or fideicomiso or own a corporation. You can own your property in the restricted zone that is 50 kilometers from the coast and 100 kilometers from the borders without problem. So that's a huge thing for people because a lot of people it's interested in real estate. Especially here in Huatulco, it's a lot of people trying to buy. So that's one advantage. Like now you could
it's
be
a big advantage
owner.
because only having a corporation to keep your real estate in it sounds like a great idea, but then you have to have a contador, you have to have an accountant, and you have to file every 4 months. With the government. So
it's just more money because you need
maybe it's easier to just have a fideicomiso. But with this I don't need either one of them anymore. So that's better. That makes it just makes things simpler. But it's quite a process to get this done. But for me, emotionally it was important. For Dorsey's family it was important. The other things are just it'll make it easier. Plus, I can vote now. I'm very interested in being able to vote. So that to me is important because it's mi país ahorita, Mexico. So,
that's great. Well, thank you so much for everything, for hiring us, but for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
And also for anybody that's interested, if you wanted to talk to me personally, just talk to Maria. And she can give you my phone number, my WhatsApp, or my email. And I have no problem at all talking to somebody explaining why I got somebody to help me do this. I get tired of so many people asking me all the time, why did you do that way? Because I'm telling you, it's just worth it. It's just way easier with the facilitator, way easier. And El Revés, thank you. Muchas gracias para tu ayuda.
Muchas gracias.
No, tú y Fernando, sin tu compañía aquí, wow. Este proceso va a estar súper horrible.
I just thank you so much, and I just talked to someone who actually did the process kind of in the same dates we did yours,
Sure.
and he got rejected because he did a mistake on the address
Oh, wow.
in his application and didn't match the immigration address.
Wow.
And then they sent him a requirement like now you have to make a change of address, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But then he had to leave the country briefly, and also one of the requirements is to stay in Mexico for a while, for a time frame. So everything basically he has to start
all over.
And he
Yeah.
did already like 3 trips to Mexico City. So
Yeah,
it is quite a process if you don't know what to do. Right?
Well, exactly. And you just made one little mistake. That's okay if you live in Mexico City because you're 20 minutes away. When you live here, wow, it's a whole flight back, it's complicated.
Mhm.
So without the help of your service, we probably would have made our way through it, but it wouldn't have been nearly as easy. Because, well, you're current with the rules, so that helps a lot. All of the paperwork that you put together for me was absolutely perfectly done. And everywhere I went, whether it was SRE or the police in Oaxaca, they were like, okay, 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 okay. And it was just like easy. It was like check the box, yeah, yeah. One mistake, you come back here again.
Mhm.
Y
Okay.
nos ahorraste mucho dinero
No.
porque un vuelo a México y de urgencia es muy caro.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. But muchas gracias, María.
Sí.
No.
Thank you, Maria, so much for all your help with your process. It was simple and way easier than you save us a lot of money, time, and stress. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Really, it was.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much to you, and thank you so much to you for watching this video. And please, if you enjoyed and if this is helpful for you, share it, subscribe, like, comment, and we hope to keep doing these videos more often. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.